Cassian begins a bit of a shift in this scene from complete outsider to indispensable. At some point you could probably argue that he's the one leading the operation. Aliens is the first example I thought of in terms of this kind of formal versus operational authority. Ellen Ripley's presence is mocked by the Marine Corps until it suddenly isn't. From that point on, they do pretty much anything she says while Gorman stares into the middle distance. Quick aside, while looking for images for aliens, I found this. I pissed myself laughing at this when I saw it on the back of the special edition VHS at age 14, and it still cracks me up. The tone is so not the movie. When Cassian walks into the tent, Vel and Taramyn are playing expert, running through their model with all the right vocabulary. Track launch, adjusted thrust ratio, overhead rail, the comfortable sound of people who've thought this through. They're faking it. I think Vel and Taramyn are quite funny here. They know their plan has a critical unknown. They have clearly decided to call Cassian in for the express purpose of attempting to get the answer out of him without this dirty little secret being discovered by him, because that would be desperately embarrassing, and their intent is to stealth it out of him under the guise of planning talk. But they do this with the subtlety of George Lucas making improvements to a classic movie, so he calls them out immediately, and from that point on the pair are deeply ashamed of this gaping hole in their otherwise meticulously detailed heist. Taramyn's reaction to Cassian's mockery is to get progressively angrier and try to shut him down, but is impotent because not only is Cassian right and this slip is unforgivable, the outsider has just become indispensable and everyone knows it. Their plan assumes the escape craft is already free to move when the reality is it's trapped in a cradle, tethered to its base, subject to the deeply unsexy question of how you get mass to move uphill. Taramyn tries to restore order. Answer the question. He wants to put the hierarchy back how it was before this guy was laughing at him. Leader asks, asset answers. Makes sense, operations die when conversations turn into ego contests. But discipline can't fill a gap where knowledge should be. Cassian forces Vel to commit. Rail, mounted, ready to go. She keeps saying yes, anchoring it all to Lieutenant Gorn being inside every day. Proximity mistaken for expertise. Cassian supplies the missing piece, load clutch, ugly handle next to the booster throttle, gauge that reads the weight. Suddenly the conversation stops being theoretical. Why isn't this in the manual? Taramyn sounds betrayed. The answer guts him. It's custom, an add-on. The official documents don't describe the actual object. Even Imperial infrastructure runs on improvisation and shortcuts, things that live in the gaps between regulation and reality. That's where Cassian also lives. That's the microclimate where this rebellion learns to operate or dies. Then Cassian twists the knife. What were you going to do if I wasn't here? Vel has to say they'd have figured it out. Leadership can't confess helplessness and survive. But let's be honest, there's a very high chance they would not have figured it out, and she knows it. Taramyn's also evasive, but ultimately more honest. He says, we wanted to be sure. You can see right through that, it confirms it. They didn't know anything. They were hoping the answer would appear when it mattered. Cassian walked in and made that luck unnecessary. So now it's a fight over ownership. Cassian says he'll pilot. Vel blocks him on principle, telling him you'll do as you're told. It's a boundary marker with almost nothing to do with flying and everything to do with hierarchy and precedent. If Cassian can claim core functions because he's competent, chain of command becomes a suggestion. He offers a deal dressed as indifference. Call it her idea, take credit, he doesn't care. He just wants control that matches risk. That's the real politics here. Authority in this camp is supposed to flow from role. Cassian's forcing it to flow from responsibility. Vel yields, okay, and the mission just got safer while her leadership just got more complicated. For what it's worth, I have no doubt Vel was desperate for Cassian to offer to fly, and that first resistance was for show. She suspected, and she now knows, that he was the right member of her cell for that critical role. Outside, it becomes clear they chose to camp in this valley because of its similarity to the one where the base is. Taramyn walks Cassian, Clem, through the target, tower yard, dam, HQ, barracks, tunnel, control tower, the door, and the temple path. It helps Cassian create a ghost map that he can memorize in advance, one he can later use when fear narrows his thinking. I also think it's a much-needed rebalancing of pride from Taramyn, a much-needed reminder that despite their monumental lapse, they have put the work in. By the time Cassian says he's got it, they've extracted what they needed and given him something back, a route through their plan that now carries his fingerprints. It's the same cognitive shift Ripley forced on the Marines. Formal authority can give people orders, but survival requires listening to whoever actually knows how these things work. Ideals don't pull the craft up the ramp. Titles don't find the load clutch. You can organize people into formation, but it takes someone who knows where the ugly handle is to make the damn thing fly.